Welcome back to my garage. Hey, I'm having a good time out here. Decided to grab a drink this evening here. It's raining. So I got caught in the rain earlier on the bike coming down 222. Man, I got nailed, man. It's raining pretty good, but it's the way it goes sometimes when you're out on a bike. Temperatures were good today. It's 50s and 60s. Actually, earlier this morning, man, it was beautiful. But I got myself a drink, and it's funny, man, because I kind of chuckled at it, but I had a guy kind of complain about, well, the bourbon's not a good touch or the whiskey's not a good touch. Well, look, I'm just hanging out in my garage, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm hanging out with a bunch of other people, just hanging out, having some good old conversation. So, hey, grab a drink of your choice. I could care less what it is. If you come over to my house and hang out in my garage and we're just sitting here talking, you want a beer? I'll get you a beer. You want some whiskey? I'll get you a little bit of whiskey. You want to sip on you want some chocolate milk? I'll get you chocolate milk. You want hot chocolate? We'll warm it up. Either way, it doesn't matter. Grab a drink. Sit down and hang out, man. That's the way I look at it. So, hey, I want to touch on a topic, though. As the weather's getting nicer, and I did a video the other, a week or two ago on how I like to ride as far as lane positions. And for me, I like to try and figure out what the other vehicles or other traffic is doing and position myself to the lane position. Pick the lane position, put it this way, pick the lane position that puts me in the best spot to be seen by other motorists, other vehicles. That's how I like to ride. So I know, I'm not saying this is how you need to do it. That's not the point. But one of the things that I've noticed in past years, where people, it's kind of like a lot of other things. Some of you don't ride all winter. I like to ride all winter or year round pretty much. Now, if there's a lot of salt in the crap that they put on these roads here in Pennsylvania, then I try to avoid that. I like for the rain to wash all that away before I get the bikes out again. But at any rate, the cold weather doesn't really bother me. I'll ride in the colder temperatures. Temperatures don't really bother me. But I know, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there's some of you that, you only ride 50 degrees and above, or, 55, whatever. I don't know what your limits are. But if you choose not to ride for maybe 3 months or so, it's a good idea to sharpen your skills a little bit before you just get on the bike and get out there. I know once you learn how to ride, you kind of pretty much get the fundamentals down and you're good to go. But it doesn't hurt. As a matter of fact, it's a good idea to sharpen your skills again when you start riding again. So one of the things that I do for myself, I'll go out and I'll practice some slow speed maneuvers in a parking lot or something somewhere. Or I'll, even around the neighborhood, if you live in a neighborhood where you can go out and kind of practice some slow speed drills, some U-turns, figure eights, just basic little stuff like that. It doesn't need to be a big production or anything. But if you do want to take some classes, I know in Pennsylvania here, there's a couple different companies do it, but you can take some courses. You can take the courses without paying any extra money. Sign up for free. And so there's really no excuse money-wise, unless you have to take some time off work. But the way I look at it, if you're budgeting to buy a bike, budget to buy some gear, well, budget to take some riding courses too. It's not, you're getting if you're starting to ride, just getting started, or if you've been doing it for a while, take some advanced classes. But take the time to do some courses and have a coach, somebody else watch you, and kind of give you some tips. We have the basic rider course, the intermediate riding course, and advanced riding courses. And probably all states are pretty much like that. There's people that do, the basic rider course, intermediate, and advanced courses. You can probably find that in pretty much any state, I would guess. And I'm guessing overseas too. You can probably find that pretty much anywhere if you want to. So I highly recommend taking some courses where you have a coach and you have somebody watching you and giving you some tips. I mean, we do it in our businesses. I do it. We do it in our family life because I want to be a better dad. So I listen to other people that have successful families and, that are, that have been doing it longer than I have. We get coaches, we get financial coaches, we get business coaches, So why not get a coach, or a course with your motorcycles? Why not? Sign up for one. I know with the basic rider course, and I'll give you two examples two of the things that I learned. And both of these are things that are exercises that are taught in the basic rider course. So the basic riding course is the basics. I mean, literally, there's some people who don't know the difference between the clutch and the front brake, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it teaches from the very basics, from the very start. But I was a couple miles from here and I was at a four-way stop. At a four-way stop, I typically pull up, and if I'm the only one there, well, I get to go first. Everybody's supposed to stop. Well, they're supposed to. Doesn't mean they always do. I was a couple miles from my house, and there's a four-way stop. I was on the motorcycle. I pulled up. I stopped. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw a vehicle off to the right-hand side. In my mind, I'm saying, oh, okay, they need to stop. I start to let the clutch out. I didn't start to. I left the clutch out, and I start to go forward. Again, peripheral vision, the corner of my eye, I realize they're not stopping. I immediately squeezed the front brake, a little pressure on the rear brake, and I got stopped. I am now in the middle of the intersection. I was going straight through, but I'm now in the middle of the intersection. This guy blows by in front of me, missed me by, it was maybe 2 feet. It wasn't much. His hand's up like this. He's looking at his phone. He wasn't paying attention. He just blew right through the stop sign. Another time we had a situation where we were coming home. It was late at evening. It was around 10 o'clock. Well, I say late, whatever. To some of you, that might be early. I don't know. But around 10 p.m., it was dark. I was riding right behind me. To my right, a friend of mine was on his bike. Behind us, my wife was following us in the pickup truck. So there's plenty of lights coming at this person. And again, a couple miles from here, I'm familiar with the intersection. This person comes down off the exit ramp, and I know they have a stop sign. I realize they're not stopping. Well, I have a choice to make. I can either try to get around the back of them, but I know if I do that, I'm going to end up in a ditch and some trees because that's not the best bet. Again, you don't have much time to think when you're doing something like this, when something like this happens, but I decided nothing coming the other way. I went into the other lane and swerved around the front of them. I was literally, I could have easily just turned my foot and reached out and kicked her front bumper. I was real close. Again, I don't know exactly what she was doing. I do know it was a lady, but I don't know what she was doing. I don't know if she was, I didn't catch whether or not she was looking at her phone or not, but she didn't stop. And that is another exercise that is taught in the basic rider course. Push left to go left, push right to go right, to swerve around an obstacle. Well, here's the point in all of this. You want to build up your muscle memory, and that's why I'm saying when you get out, practice again before the season starts here. Well, for some of you, the season doesn't end, but for some of you that it does, get out and practice. Practice, practice, practice. So, because we want to stay safe out there, we put on gear and stuff to try to help us, but I think the most important thing we can do is practice our riding skills and become better. I have there's some situations where I look at people and I'm like, well, you've got the skills, but you're not too smart with where you're using them. Here on Route 222, I saw a couple of guys. And this was like 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Anybody that knows where I'm talking about, if you're from the Lancaster County, you'll know this. You'll know where I'm talking about. Between Brownstown and Lancaster on Route 222, southbound. I was going northbound. I see these guys coming southbound. Around 4 o'clock, there's a lot of traffic on that road. On a Friday afternoon around 4 p.m., a lot of traffic. And these guys were flying. A couple of them were in and out of the traffic. Right lane, left lane. There was 4 motorcycles. And one of the guys pulls a wheelie. And he's doing a wheelie. Well, I can appreciate the skills. No doubt he knew how to handle the bike, but that's not the time or place. And we need to think about this kind of stuff. So in addition to knowing how to ride, we need to know when to get kind of crazy and stupid on our bikes, well, I shouldn't say stupid, but when to get a little crazy on our bikes and, speeding and all that kind of stuff. There's a time and place for it. I'm not going to knock you for riding wheelies, man. I mean, I've done it myself, but there's a time and place. On the highway, 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon during rush hour when there's a bunch of traffic, that's not the time or place, So just think things through a little bit. Use your head, common sense. So I know just the other day I did it, pulled in a church parking lot not far from here. And I have a little bit of video of that. I'll tie it in with this. So get out and practice before you just jump on the bike and think, oh man, I'm in shape. I got this. Get out and practice a little bit. And, I guess you could say warm up a little. So if you've been riding all winter, you've been doing this stuff all winter long, go for it. Get out there and enjoy yourself. But if you did take a little bit of a break, 2 or 3 months, sharpen those skills a little bit, It's a good idea.
One of the things I like to do on a regular basis is just pull into a parking lot somewhere. This is a church parking lot close to my house, and just practice some slow speed maneuvers, You can start with bigger ones. You can start with big figure eights or something. You can use parking spaces for kind of a guideline if you want. And if you want, tighten them up. Practice your U-turns. And basically a figure eight is 2 U-turns tied together in the middle. Just keep your skills as sharp as you can. Remember to practice that head and eyes. Look where you want to go with the bike. Use that friction zone. I don't know. Just play around and practice this stuff a little bit. I do it on a fairly regular basis just to help keep my skills sharp. Not a crazy big deal. Takes a couple of minutes. Nothing wrong with doing this a couple times a week.